Hi guys, welcome or welcome back and welcome to another race prediction video for the Austrian Grand Prix this time. I'm so happy it is race weekend once again, race week I'm so excited to be back, and also it's Silverstone next week and I am actually going to be in Lando stand, so it's getting very exciting because this is the final race before the race I'm going to, so it is very exciting. I think this race could be a good one, especially because it's a track we know Max Verstappen is very good at. Like, it's his home race, it's the Red Bull Ring. Like, we know Max Verstappen loves this track and has great results at this track. So it'll be very interesting to see what he could do, if he could potentially mix it up with Mercedes. And obviously I'll reveal whether I think he can in my predictions. But obviously last year, I always look back at last year's results to try to kind of gauge what my predictions kind of should be. Obviously it's not that helpful because of the regulation changes. Like, if there wasn't a regulation change, obviously you go back and you can be like, oh, McLaren was strong at this track, which they were. It was a McLaren 1-2 last year, but that's because they have the strongest car. Currently Mercedes have the strongest car, so then you have to think like, oh, is like the strongest car going to be the strongest here, or was it other factors of last year was when Max and Kimi collided on the first lap and they both DNF'd. So that obviously changes the results because Max, I don't remember where he had qualified, but he would have done well because it's his favourite race. So it's very interesting. It didn't really help me with my predictions, let's just say that. But we are going to see kind of what I thought of, see how right I am after the race. Obviously I will do a race review and probably post it on Monday after the race, so should be exciting to see. So let's get into my predictions before I waffle too much more. But let's jump straight into pole because it's a normal race weekend, no sprint this weekend. So I have put Max Verstappen on pole, and this might seem crazy because nobody other than a Mercedes has got pole this year. I actually can't remember if I don't think Lando got pole for the Miami sprint. I think he just overtook him the first lap. So I don't think anybody other than a Mercedes driver has gotten pole this year. And it looks pretty much impossible. Hamilton got very close last race though, but obviously that's a Ferrari and Verstappen isn't in a Ferrari, and Red Bull don't seem to be doing amazingly. But we also have to remember Verstappen was P2, he qualified P2 for Monaco, and he wasn't too far off Kimi's pole time. So I think it would just be interesting because it's a track he really loves, it's a track he's very good at. And I just think sometimes when everything like aligns like that for Max Verstappen, he puts in some crazy, what people would call impossible laps sometimes. And I just think there is potential of us seeing that because he hasn't had the best last couple of races. So I think he'll want to have a good race this time. And I think sometimes when Max just has motivation, he can put a rubbish car up into a really high position. So I think we could be seeing pole from Max. However, I have said that George Russell will win, which is also one of my surprise predictions, is that George will return to the top step. I'm not actually sure if last race weekend would have given him a boost in confidence or not, because he did seem a lot more on form and he was beating Kimi for the majority of it. But obviously Kimi overtook him right before he DNF'd. So George has that knowledge of, yes, he has gained points over Kimi because Kimi DNF'd and George finished P2, but also that if Kimi hadn't DNF'd, George would be finishing behind him yet again, even though he seemed like the stronger Mercedes driver the whole weekend leading up to that. So it is interesting to like kind of see whether it would have helped George's confidence, like closing that points gap, or whether he's still going to be a bit shaky. But I think we are getting close to George's home race. Obviously, George's home race is Silverstone. George loves the European leg of races, and last year Barcelona was actually the start of Kimi's bad streak. See, I don't think we will see that this year, just because obviously his DNF in Barcelona is not indicative to been on a bad streak because that was mechanical failure. Obviously last year he then just started having like loads of DNFs, loads of like issues, like it was his fault that him and Max crashed out in Austria last year. But Kimi looked very strong in Barcelona this year before he DNF'd. So I don't think we're going to have one of those again. I think he definitely will have learned from last year. But that doesn't mean George won't be stronger. So it will be interesting to see. I'm wondering if there's some like setup changes, like differences between their cars, because I really can't put my finger on why there's such a big difference, because I feel like George is so experienced. It's a bit confusing, but I do think there is potential for him to return to the top step. I think unfortunately, even if Max can get pole like I predicted, there's still going to be Mercedes are still going to be faster overall race pace, and they are pretty good with their strategies, unless of course George and Kimi are fighting and that like messes up their strategy, which could always happen. But I have said that George will win, and I'm really just thinking a Mercedes will win. I'm thinking a Mercedes 1-2 because I then put Kimi at P2. I just think George has got to return to the top step at one point, which is why I predicted him P1. But I also think that Mercedes will be very strong here, will continue to be strong. So yeah, that's what I have put as my P1 and P2. And then for P3 I've put Max, because if I'm predicting him getting pole, I don't think he'll fall too far. Again, he loves this track. I just always, in my mind, in my predictions, I'm like, well, both Mercedes are likely to be on the podium, and then you have to choose one other driver. And I would have gone for Hamilton because he's been in such strong form lately, but just because this is a track Max loves so much, I do have to back him for this race. But best believe for Silverstone, Hamilton will be on my predicted podium, but no spoilers. And then I always every week do some surprise predictions, and honestly I've been doing pretty well at them. Like, they haven't been too bad. Sometimes they are just me being really hopeful for something to happen. But sometimes I do say something crazy and it happens, so maybe I'm manifesting at this point. But obviously one of my surprise predictions was George will return to the top step. It's crazy that this is a surprise prediction, but he is in the strongest car this season, and he's only had one win, I believe. So yeah, it's crazy that that has to be a surprise prediction, but it would actually be quite surprising to see him on the top step at this point. But I do also believe he can do it. And then I said Nico Hulkenberg will get his first point or points of the season. Either way, he'll be in the points position. He was so close to getting points last race weekend. A little pebble that I believe Liam Lawson went into the gravel, and one stone like hit the kill switch on Nico's car, which is actually insane. Like, that's the unluckiest thing I've ever heard, and there's a lot of unlucky things that happen in this sport, but that's crazy. But Nico has been very strong, like quite strong this whole season, but obviously Audi just have such bad technical issues, like mechanical DNFs, like constantly, even DNSs, like. But I think they will start getting on top of it, and then Nico will start having more chances to get him the points. And I think it's got to happen at some point, so I might just keep predicting that until it does happen, because I'm like keeping my fingers crossed to him, because he definitely deserves it. And then I said Charles will have a better finish position than Lewis. I'm not sure if I actually 100% agree with this. Sometimes I put down surprise predictions because they're surprise. But I don't 100% believe in it. I think Charles has just been in a bit of a bad form lately, and again with George, I think I'm hoping to just see them both snap out of it this weekend. But also Lewis has been so strong, and coming off the back of his first win with Ferrari, I think his confidence is going to be so high. So this might be maybe not the best prediction to make, but I think it is going to be very interesting to. I think those are the two team battles we need to look out the most this year, is between George and Kimi, because obviously that's for the title fight, but also Charles and Hamilton. Charles and Lewis, I don't know why I said Hamilton. Between Charles and Lewis, because even though Lewis is fighting for the championship, Charles could get in there and mess it up, and I wonder if Ferrari will start doing team orders, so that would be interesting to see as well. But obviously we'll find out. Then my last surprise prediction for this race weekend is that no one in the top 4 teams will DNF. So I think everybody knows what the top 4 teams is: Mercedes, Ferrari, McLaren and Red Bull. I'm saying no one will DNF, which has to be a surprise prediction, because if you look at like basically this, I think we've had one race, I don't know for sure, but there's only been like a handful of races this season where all of the top 8 drivers from the top 4 teams have finished the race, which is insane, just because Lando's had so many DNFs. George and Kimi have both had one. Max has definitely had one. Charles has had 2 in a row now. I think Lewis has finished all the races actually, but still, Isaac has definitely had a couple. So it's just they've had a run of bad luck, but so is like everyone on the grid. Everyone's struggling with reliability issues because it's still so early on in the new regulations. But it would just be nice to see. I would try to predict that everyone will finish this race, but it's looking impossible. Also, especially when you have like the that was my laptop. Especially when you have the Aston Martins and the Cadillacs and the Audis on the grid, like one of them surely got to DNF, or even a Williams. Like Alex has been having a really bad run of luck this season so far, but it would be nice to see everyone finish. I'm really hoping. I'm not sure if he might have had 2 DNFs in a row. I know he definitely DNF'd. Yeah, he's had 2 DNFs in a row, so I'm really hoping Ollie Behrman will finish this race, or at least have good luck in Silverstone next week. But we will see, and I will make that prediction when it comes to next week. But thank you guys so much for watching this video. Share your predictions down in the comments if you want to. Just tell me what your podium looks like. And we will see how this race goes. It'll be very interesting to see if Max can challenge Mercedes because he loves this track so much, or if Lewis can continue to challenge Mercedes, or even if George can manage to actually challenge Kimi in this race. So it'll be very interesting to see, and I will be back after the race for my race review. So like and subscribe to come back for that, and thank you for being here.